What's up, everybody? Welcome. It is post-game Niners-Rams. And I thought I'd start with an update of the NFC standings, where the 49ers have put themselves in a tie in the NFC race with the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, among others, and the Rams. Yeah. You know, I was actually struggling a little bit as this game went along because the Niners looked like they were going to beat the Rams, and I hated just about everything in the game. And I'm like, all right, guy, don't be a hater. Don't be Mr. Negative. Don't be Mr. Glass half empty. Okay, they're going to win the game. They're going to be 2-1. They're going to win without Kittle and without Debo. And you just, without McCaffrey. And you gotta take the wins where you can get them. You just win ugly is still a W. You're on the road. You're going to be 2-1. So don't be too negative, guy. And I'm just sitting here making all these notes about all the shit I hate. So much I hated about that game. And then good news. They lost. So I don't have to pretend. Not that I would have pretended, but you know what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff that came up during the game, they were going to get lucky. They were going to get lucky and win the game. They were going to get lucky that they were playing the Rams this week and not, a loaded good team. They're going to get lucky and find a way to win without their best players or some of their best players on offense. They're going to get lucky. And then instead of getting lucky, they got the result that they deserved. That was one of the most embarrassing 49ers games I've ever watched. And I've watched some bad ones. So maybe that's a slight, I'll acknowledge, prisoner of the moment. I don't have a list here. But that was terrible. I mean, that was terrible. The list of things that were awful in that game, like, where do we begin? First of all, it's the second week in a row you get killed on special teams. Like, killed. This time, it was clear as day. Any of you watching it, you could see it. It changed the entire game when the 49ers gave up a fake punt with 6 minutes left in the first half. Because you're looking at it going, it's 14-0. They're going to get the ball. If they get a stop, they're going to get it back on the punt, run it out, get to halftime, maybe get a field goal, go up 3 scores. Instead, the Rams get it. They're getting the ball first in the second half. Put the Niners in the position of like that late second half. What a 2-minute drill. What do we do? And it changed the whole game. It was so much momentum for the Rams. They missed a 55-yard field goal to basically end it. Which, that's special teams. That's a Moody thing. That's not but field goal kicker is away from special teams. Don't coach. Don't worry. The special teams coach has got plenty on him. And really, when you change special teams coaches and nothing changes, it just tells you where the head coach's priorities are. And we already knew that. Then you give up a 38-yard return with 42 seconds left to the Rams to make it basically a lock. So special teams, that was number one on the list of awful things today. Number 2, Kyle Shanahan is so stubborn when it comes to Jacob Cowing. And this is not revisionist history. If you've been watching at all, you know this. You know that I asked about Jacob Cowing in camp. It was clear. Watching the 49ers practice, this Ronnie Bell drops thing is not something that just cropped up. If you've watched the Niners, you know this. But it happens in practice. It happens in the preseason. And, what do you know? It happened in the games. Jacob Cowing, to give you an idea of how Kyle Shanahan values special teams, he will not put Jacob Cowing on the field on offense, but he'll let him return punts. Well, he's a good punt returner, you might say. Well, that's what I would say. He's definitely their most trustworthy punt returner. He's sure-handed. He catches the ball. He can track it and he catches it. But he's not good enough for the offense? Ronnie Bell had not 1, not 2, but 3 drops today, and the last of which cost him the game. It's a ball game if he catches that thing at the end. When Purdy takes a deep shot, YouTube TV is a little behind. I have the live box score from the NFL internal page going. And so I can kind of see like the play before it happens. And I see deep ball incomplete Ronnie Bell. And I'm thinking, I know what Niners deep balls look like. Low percentage throws that just don't work. Then I see the play actually occur, and it's a great throw by Brock Purdy. You couldn't ask for anything more. And I have breaking news. Jacob Cowing can do that. All right. I don't know if Jacob Cowing knows the whole playbook. Well, Ronnie Bell's not running the whole. He's not running 50 snaps. I said it last week, so this is why I have no problem hammering it right now. This was a game for Jacob Cowing, for a fast guy who can catch the football. And instead, Ronnie Bell is getting the world's longest leash from Kyle Shanahan, but rookie Jacob Cowing apparently can't be trusted to run a rep. Can't be trusted. And it's just not, it's totally predictable. Nobody is surprised by that. Anyone who's watched the games is not surprised by that. If you've watched them, I'm telling you watch the practice, he doesn't catch the ball consistently. Doesn't track it well, doesn't catch it, doesn't return punts because Jacob Cowing's better. Think about this. If you're good at catching punts out of the air, which Jacob Cowing, despite the muff last week, he's good at it. If you notice today, he was very solid at it. If you're good catching punts that go really high in the air, that are knuckling, the guy that kicks it is trying to make it so you can't catch it, then I have news for you. You're going to be really good at catching spirals from your quarterback. But for some reason, they just refuse to put him out because young receivers are behind, so they don't get to be out there. Well, it cost them. It cost them. Not being ready on special teams cost them. Not covering on special teams cost them. Having Ronnie Bell, this trust in Ronnie Bell from somewhere, cost them. Okay? At some point, we just got to acknowledge, like in 2025, guys, in 2025, let's get everybody into camp. In time. I don't want to hear again, so-and-so works out well on his own. I don't want to hear that again. It didn't. The Ayuk had 2 drops today. Now, they weren't Ronnie Bell level drops. They were not Ronnie Bell level drops. They were like real NFL Pro Bowler receiver makes those catches drops, right? But when you're battling for the ball, the defender on your back, and you're a top 10 receiver in the league, and you're getting paid like one, you make the play. So he didn't look great. Trent Williams, thank God he came back. But I don't think it's still like, oh, Trent's still getting into shape. So, these guys are treating it like a warm-up. Now, I'm not saying that's mentally how they're thinking about it. I'm just saying this thing was not ready to roll when the season started. And guess what? They look like a team not ready to roll. And somebody might call that a Super Bowl hangover. I do not. That's not what that is. Their defense just isn't as good. For a defense with a lot of good players, you look at the final box score of that game, and you look at it, and you go like, oh, all right, well, there was some okay stuff. Like, they got after the quarterback on paper. They didn't give up 6 yards a carry on paper. I think it was like 3.8 or whatever. Let me get these scores up. Or this box score up. But when you watch it, it's just, again, if you got a quarterback with an arm and a fast receiver, you basically get to do whatever you want to the secondary. Not feeling great about that. And these are, by the way, these are all things that would have applied if they'd won the game. But at least they'd have won the game. Other things that were sloppy, when they're trying to end the game before the Rams come back and tie it, they ran out of bounds 3 times. Now, in the end, it might have cost them in regulation because they got to punt back to the Rams with 44 seconds, whatever. How much time was that? 43 seconds, 40, whatever. Well, 42 seconds. They ran out of bounds 3 times. Now, one was on a penalty. Garendo did it. But they ran out of bounds 3 times. Jordan Mason did it. Purdy didn't. Purdy fell down. But that's time that might have gotten them to overtime. But they didn't run that. They didn't run that possession well. That was the drive where Moody missed the field goal, by the way. On that drive, and I'll say this, when that drive started, I was kind of impressed. Well, they're throwing the ball down the field. Like, they are not just running this thing. But they went out of bounds 3 times, left more time on the clock than they should have. It almost came back to help them because they were going to need that time after LA scored. But then they don't score. And you could tell like they're huddling up. The Niners' last drive, not the last drive. That last play, by the way, I got to see the All-22 on that. That thing almost worked. But they're huddling up like they're worried about giving the Rams the ball back. Well, you know what would have been nice? If you'd run that 6-minute the 6-minute offense. If they got the ball with 6 minutes left, they're running out of bounds 3 times. So, they lost the game. That hurts. Like, that really hurts, especially on a day when you look up and there was a moment in time where you're looking around the NFC going, oh, okay, this is going to be, the Eagles are going to lose, which is fine. The Cowboys end up losing. The Lions end up winning. Cardinals kind of got back in that game. The Bucks end up losing. Like, it's not the end of the world from a win-loss standpoint, although being 1-2 is just a joke at this point. They got lucky. I said it last week, and I meant it. And I watched the game, and I was right. When Debo got hurt, people freaked out. I'm not freaked. I wasn't freaked about the Debo injury. And the reason I wasn't freaked about the Debo injury is you had the Rams and you got the Patriots. You should win both those games. They should win next week. They'll be 2-2. Okay? But you got the Rams Matthew Stafford had to will them to that thing. How many penalties did they commit today? By the way, how many penalties did the 49ers commit today? 15 penalties between the two of them. The Rams had 8 penalties for 75 yards. The Niners had 7 penalties for 111 yards. All right? The Niners gave the Rams more penalty yardage than the Rams had rushing yards in this game. The Rams had 98 rushing yards, and the Niners had 111 penalty yards. Matthew Stafford threw for 221. The Niners gave them 111, half as many, basically 50% extra. You're going to throw for 220? Let's make it effectively 330. Now, some of those were on balls that he would have completed, so they were like passing yards. That's what you look up. You're like, oh, Stafford threw for 220. Stafford threw for Stafford threw for like 300 yards when you factor in penalties today. Just, brutal. Absolutely brutal. And it was going to be a win. That was brutal. But then you lose it. And a 55-yard field goal is a long field goal. That's not a lock. That's not a guarantee. Whatever the league percentage on 55 is, the guy's got number one thing is make your 35-yarders, make your 48-yarders, and, make the extra points. But, what's the problem with, I got a guy with a 55-yard leg that is – his ball flight is just so unpredictable, is that when you try those kicks, you give them the ball at the spot. So, Stafford's one throw for Stafford and they're in scoring range. So if you can't, you're not going to be 100% on 55-yard kicks, but if you can't be really confident you're going to hit 55-yarders, then it's really risky. And it's just a reminder that, first of all, guys miss. There's no doubt. We got a whole season to play out. But, I wish I could tell you I was feeling great. By the way, the field goal that Moody made from 26, did you see the ball movement on that sucker? It was dicey. So, so much went wrong for them. And a win would have covered up the stench of a bunch of mistakes. That have nothing to do with Christian McCaffrey, by the way. Okay. That have nothing to do with Deebo Samuel. They got Juwan Jennings' greatest game ever. Juwan Jennings looked like Antonio Brown in his prime against the Raiders. I'll give you something to smile about. 11 catches on 12 targets for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brock Purdy hit a ton of big throws. Purdy was 22 of 30 for 292, 3 touchdowns. Purdy ran for 41 yards. I mean, he was good. He was good under pressure. He missed Ayuk late, though. That might have ended the game. He didn't throw it to him on that play where he had like 10 seconds to run around. So nobody was perfect except for Jennings. But, I mean, you look at this Niners offense, what were they today? They were 6.5 yards of play. 6 of 11 on third down. 1 of 1 on fourth down. 1 of 1 goal to go. 2 of 3 in the red zone. Although one of those, I want red zone touchdown percentage. They outgained the Rams by 130 yards on offense. Again, penalty yards. They ran more plays and gained more yards per play. So let's say Moody makes that kick. Let's say Ronnie Bell makes that catch. It doesn't change the fact that this is not. They still haven't found their way back to the D'Amico Ryans defense. They still haven't figured that one out. It's you look up and 3 sacks today. 3 sacks against the Rams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 QB hurries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 TFLs. The Rams had 1 sack. Niners had 3 sacks. Normally, you go into a game, you say you're getting 3 sacks today. Feel okay about it. And I think Bosa helps create them. It is crazy how he is not getting home, it feels like. Here's the other thing. I thought this secondary was going to be really good. I thought their corners with Isaac Yiadom as their number 3 corner was going to be really good. Isaac Yiadom is getting targeted. The Vikings targeted him last week. The Rams targeted him today with success. Mooney Ward. I mean, it's not, small, fast guy is not a great matchup for him. He wants to go play AJ Brown. He wants to go play DK Metcalf, right? And so this Rams group, this ragtag group of Rams, the Tutu Atwell, the double pass, I don't know what, it's just a number of inexplicable plays. Inexplicable plays. So it's the loss illuminated what that game was and what it was going to be, even if they'd won. By the way, if they'd won that game, you know what one of the things would have been? Would have been like, okay, like to me, it definitely, one storyline that was going to be real and still kind of is, even with the loss, is like Brock without a bunch of dudes made some plays. This one is not a Brock Purdy. This is not is Brock Purdy a $60 million quarterback game? This is is your defense good enough to win a playoff game on the road? Because that's where you're headed right now. Now, the good news is I watched the NFC and it's deep and average and deep. But like, are you beating the Patriots next week? I mean, you should. But then your schedule gets kind of good, like difficult. And Deebo Samuel doesn't play defense, even when he comes back. I mean, he plays a lot of positions, but none of them are on defense. And you're getting targeted on special teams. And the Cardinals, I mean, they were not the same team today against the Lions, but I've seen Kyler Murray against the Niners defense, good Niners defenses, and it gives them problems. What's he going to go against this defense? I just don't understand. The evidence was in on Ronnie Bell. It was already in. We got no new information today. You have Jacob Cowing. Because he missed a week and a half of camp, he's behind. He can't get on the field. I mean, it's just blows my mind. They did not deserve to win the game. They lost the game. Got what they deserved. Unbelievable. All right. A few things I want to get to. A bunch of stuff I got to get to, actually. I do have to take a moment to tell you that. Actually, I don't have to do that now. Let's get to a few super chats. How do I get there? Where are all these things? God. Rattled. Oops. Cowing better be playing next game. God, I appreciate all your comments. They're coming so fast I can't even click on the one I want. All right, let's get some super chats here. Comment, super chat. A QB with a big arm is unstoppable with our defense. Yeah, fast guy, big arm. And it's just, how's everybody running behind the secondary? Feels like a ongoing issue. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm saying oh my God because I can't get to the super chats here. Where are these things? If you've sent one in, I want to give you your due. But holy smokes. Comment from Azul super chat. This feels like they're using their first 4 games as the preseason. That game felt like a preseason game. That Niners, what was that? That second drive of the game? Was it the second drive that was like 17 plays long? Yeah, the Niners' second drive. 17 plays. Both teams committed 2 penalties. It was a disaster. Like, that wasn't some championship team, some buzzsaw that the Niners just ran into. That was, you know how happy the Rams are they won that game? They were 0-2. I mean, just, somebody said Steve Wilkes is laughing. You know what Steve Wilkes is doing? He's volunteer assistant coaching with the Charlotte 49ers of the American Athletic Conference. So, yeah, he is. He's available. Niner Goat, super chat. Special teams and rookies. Shanahan is the problem. I mean, he is directly responsible for those 2 things. The fact that the Niners' special teams is consistently a major weakness of the team and can't get fixed. And that for whatever reason, Jacob Cowing can't get on the field. But Ronnie Bell consistently gets opportunities in big spots, despite the fact that he has shown an significant inconsistency in catching the football. So don't let I don't know if anyone's saying this. Don't let anybody tell you, well, that's just a bad game. It's been happening. It's an ongoing issue. It's not new. It happens in games. It happens in practices. It's not new information. I saw somebody say we need to call Rex Ryan. Yeah, I mean, it's Bill Belichick saying, I'm good. You know who I wanted them to hire? Was Danton Lynn, who USC hired. Kyle Shanahan, that was not a joke then. It's not a joke now. Danton Lynn, you know what? Kyle likes, we know this because he has said it, and the evidence shows us that Kyle likes sons of coaches like him. Dan Lynn's son of a coach, and a good one. Anthony Lynn. Dan Lynn's a good coach. Oh, man. I am. Some of you guys have sent in super chats that I just can't get back to here. Like there's so many comments that I can't get back to them. I'm sorry. I will try to get to them later. Cut Bell now. Yeah, whatever. I mean, cut him to too late. Do whatever. But more importantly than getting rid of him is who you put on the field. It's just it's the Renardo Green penalty was BS, somebody says. No, it wasn't. He was pulling on the receiver's jersey the whole time through and then launched himself using the receiver's jersey. It's a good call. Comment, my hope is that Saleh's let go at season's end and is back as the defensive coordinator. Dreaming, I know. Well, I mean, if he were to be let go, that's not dreaming. But basically replacing your defensive coordinator for the third year in a row, or the second year in a row, replacing back-to-back defensive coordinators would say that you don't know how to pick defensive coordinators. Can they win against the Patriots? Yes. They better. No, can't blame the refs. Jets are looking good, comment. He can't let go. Oh, yeah, Rex Ryan's a coach's son. There you go. Super chat from Mike. Rex Ryan, call him. He's Buddy Ryan's son. Comment, every area is in chaos. I don't get it. I don't think the quarterback's in chaos. This is a very negative day, a very negative show, angry show, glass very empty show. Brock Purdy was good. Brock Purdy looked unfazed by the fact that he didn't have Kittle, that he didn't have Debo, they didn't have McCaffrey. He looked good. Jordan Mason looked good again. I thought at times the offensive line looked good. Juwan Jennings looks excellent. 2 7th rounders. Purdy to Juwan Jennings is the greatest quarterback to receiver 7th round combination in the history of the sport. I think. I mean, there can't be a better one. I looked, it's like Gus Frerotte was a 7th round pick, but I don't know if he played with any good 7th round receivers who ever caught 150 yards of passes. For all the negatives, if they had won the game, one of my headlines of the game was going to be Brock Purdy. This was a significant test. This was a test for Brock Purdy. Not in the sense that like the Rams defense is a test. It's not compared to some of the other stuff you're going to see. It's not playing the Ravens, right? They really miss Aaron Donald. But that's all. That's who you were playing today. And so to go look as good as Purdy looked today without those other stars out there on offense, to take as many shots as he did, to handle pressure as well as he did when Trent Williams went out of the game. There were a few scary moments. Trent went out of the game. Fred Warner went out of the game. So there were some scary moments. But I thought Brock Purdy used his legs. I mean, it was excellent the way he used his legs. So much running. He felt really in control, and I thought it was a very good Brock Purdy game. But it also shows you, like, this offense is going to have to be not mistake-free. That's crazy. No one has to be perfect. But this team feels like they're just going to have to keep scoring because they just don't consistently get stops yet. Not against good teams. I mean, you can go beat up whoever, but not against good quarterbacks and good coaches. I don't even know if the Rams are even that good. Not this version. How lucky are the Niners that Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp didn't play? Can you imagine if those guys had played? How many points it would have taken to beat the Rams today? What are they going to look like against? Again, I know the Cardinals weren't great today, but what are they going to look like against Kyler Murray? Seahawks are playing defense. The Seahawks have a ceiling because of their quarterback, but they're playing defense. What about Kansas City? Dallas can keep scoring on you. Dallas will make mistakes, but the Rams made a bunch of mistakes today, and the Niners were not able to take advantage of it. So you're going to play Dallas, and Dallas is going to do some stupid stuff because they always do. They'll try something dumb on special teams. Dak will make some crazy throw that should be grounding in the end zone that doesn't get called for a safety. They're going to do stupid stuff. This team, at its height, you couldn't make mistakes against them because their defense was suffocating and their offense was just too rock solid. And so it allowed them to play from ahead and manage the clock very well. This was different. This was frenetic. It was frenetic. The whole thing, win or lose, even with a win, it was frenetic. I mean, like I'm not in the Bucks or something special category just because of Baker. They've got a ceiling on them, but you're gonna go to the Bucks and win. You're gonna go to the Packers and win. You're gonna go to the Bills and win. You go to Miami. How about the Lions at home? Like this, it got to be better. Kyle's got to be better. Comment from Dan. Funny how a quote-unquote great team routinely fails to overcome mistakes. I've never seen anything like it. As soon as there's one error, the dread sets in. They're great. They're great like a college football team is great week 3. We're working off the top 25 rankings from the summer. Debo said they were the best team in the league in the last few years. All right, well, that's old news. This team is not great, and it's not with a capital G. Are they good? Are they good? Are they good? I think they're good. But like good or like Bucks Bucks good. Saints good. Oh, guy, you hate the Bucks. You hate the Saints. Yeah, those teams have a ceiling on them. This team is trying to win a Super Bowl. Standard's different. The Bucks are good for the Bucks. They're solid. They're good. The top half, they're good. They're fine. They're not winning the Super Bowl. The Baker Mayfield resurrection story is a great story. He's not winning the NFC. Like it's a different goal for the 49ers and the Vikings, who, by the way, manhandled the Texans today. Which I thought for the moment made that game look a little better last week for the 49ers. But there's none of that talk anymore. You win the game and you go, oh, well, you see, they made life really hard on the Texans. See, oh, the Saints offense didn't do much today. So much for the Clint Kubiak effect, right? Like that's some of the conversation you have if they win the game. But man, that's awful. That is awful. That is one of the Rams tried to hand it to you on a platter. By the way, it could have been worse. Could have been better, but it could have been worse. Dan the Man comment. Brandon Ayuk is Jordan Poole. Looks great next to Curry getting triple teamed. He should be better than he's been. Comment from Notorious B.I.G. Niners soft AF. Purdy crumbled under the pressure. Rams just wanted it more, have a higher football IQ. I didn't think Purdy crumbled under the pressure. I don't agree with that. Hester Super Chat, thank you. The saddest part of this is everyone and their mother wanted to see if Purdy could perform without his weapons. He did that today, but that storyline is now lost in the wake. Here's what I would say to that. That's not the saddest part. That's the silver lining. Like that's their hope for this year. Their hope this year, Brock Purdy had to improve on the player that he was last year. Not just for them to compete for a championship, but to prove that he is worthy of a massive extension, the kind that quarterbacks get. So the fact that they lost the game doesn't change the fact that Brock Purdy answered the bell today. It just doesn't, if you're into celebrating Brock every game, which I love talking about Brock. as much as anybody, more than anybody. That's not the storyline today, but that's okay. As long as he's that player, then he's holding up his end of the bargain. But that defense is not holding up its end of the bargain. Man. Brutal. All right. I mean, Hufunga's back. I'll have to watch the game again. Did that matter today? You know what this team needs? Ricky Pearsall. Armando says Purdy had a huge bounce back from last week. Yeah. Man. I tell you this too. Juwan Jennings. They got all these guys on this team, like Trent Williams and Nick Bosa and Brandon Ayuk, that are getting the biggest contracts in the league. And then they got this guy, Juwan Jennings, who, like Purdy, was a 7th-round pick. And as much as Fred Warner outperforms his contract and George Kittle outperforms his contract and Brock Purdy outperforms his contract, Juwan Jennings outperforms his contract on one of the highest levels in the league. I mean, it's pretty incredible, actually, how many guys this team has that get paid at the top of their position or near it. And then how many other guys. Now, I mean, Kittle and Fred do because of the way linebackers and tight ends get paid. So it's not that's not the right way to say it. But then there's this guy, Fred Warner. This guy, Juwan Jennings is like if Fred Warner played receiver, basically. That guy is so tough mentally and physically. It's just kind of like the Purdy thing. But look at it this way too. They needed that, and they still lost this game. They needed that level of performance from Juwan Jennings, and they got it. Like, we all know that Juwan Jennings is tough and reliable. You can trust him in big games, all that kind of stuff. But you're not getting that performance from him every week. And you got it, and you wasted it. Absolutely wasted it. Just brutal. Comment, super chat. Shady Luke. Niners have gotten lucky with back-to-back good DCs with top 5 defense. Sooner or later, that will default, and maybe we're seeing it now still early. They're not hopeless because, as I said, the NFC is flawed, but you're trying to win a Super Bowl. And so it's about more than just winning the NFC. And at this point, who feels great they're going to win the NFC? JC says, you get lazy when you're full. JJ's earning his money. I don't know, man. I watch a lot of teams with expensive players who just perform. Like, what did Justin Jefferson do today? What I saw of that game, I look up and Justin Jefferson is just running around making plays. I mean, Malik Neighbors looks pretty sweet. Love that guy. Where's my Vikings box score? Justin Jefferson, 6 for 81, a touchdown. Ayuk, 5 for 48, 10 targets, 2 drops. Charlie, Staley effect? I mean, I thought it was crazy early in the year or before, in the offseason when people are like, the Staley situation, is it a little weird that he's just there looking over Sorensen's shoulder? And I said, nah. They know exactly what they've got in Nick Sorensen. They know who he is. They know what type of coach he is. They know exactly what they're getting, what type of communicator they're getting. TJ Watt's making plays. Chris Jones got paid, started making plays immediately. CeeDee Lamb had a bad game today. Yeah, but that's the Cowboys. I expect that. I mean, give me a break. God. I'll tell you what. You know what'll make me feel good? What'll make you feel good? If you're sitting there and you got tickets in your hand. By the way, the Patriots play on Thursday. Played on Thursday. So the Patriots were just chilling today. They have the 3-day rest advantage on the 49ers, essentially. That's a 1:00 game at home at Levi Stadium next week. If you are going to that game, then every Niner home game, I always tell you, you got to go check out Puesto. Puesto is the place to be. It is my favorite when I go to Levi Stadium. It's also my favorite when I'm not at Levi Stadium. They have 2 Bay Area locations in Palo Alto and in Concord. They have locations throughout Southern California as well, in Orange County and San Diego. Puesto Mexican Artisan Kitchen. You can click, if you're watching, the QR code on the screen, link in the description as well to check out their menu. 2 locations on the main concourse at Levi Stadium. So pregame at Puesto, midgame at Puesto, postgame at Puesto. They've got the Bang Bang Margarita, which is fantastic. They've got a ton of great margaritas in the restaurant. But in the stadium, the Bang Bang Margarita, it's got fresh strawberries. It's got fresh lime juice. My personal favorite taco, the quesabirria taco, the short rib. They got the Al Pastor tacos in the stadium. Tacos, burritos, margaritas. I don't know anybody else in the stadium that's making fresh tortillas. But Puesto is making fresh tortillas at the stadium. This is not just some nameless, faceless corporation. Eric Adler, the family, they founded this restaurant group in La Jolla in 2012. First-generation Mexican-American family who just makes kick-ass food. I mean, fantastic food. I love it. So, Eric, thank you. Puesto, thank you. They're big Niner fans, too. So, I know they're hurting today. So, hopefully everybody watching this, if you're watching the video, listen to the podcast, you check out Puesto. You can tell them I sent you. That doesn't get you anything. But I'm sure they'd be happy to hear it. But if you're going to the Niners-Patriots game next week, you at least have this to look forward to. You don't know if your defense is going to show up. You don't know what special teams play the Patriots are going to kill the Niners with. But you do know the one thing you can count on at Levi Stadium is the margaritas, the tacos, and the burritos from Puesto. Check it out. Appreciate y'all. And appreciate Puesto. And again, if you're in SoCal, San Diego, Orange County, if you're in the Bay, it's excellent. Highly recommend. Love it. Appreciate them. And appreciate you. And send me some pics. If you're going, send me a DM. Let me know you went. Let me know what your order was. I'm a big fan. I got to get in soon. Oh, man. Leo says, bang, bang. That's what the Rams did to that Niner booty. I see a lot of Purdy defense today. Yeah. You would have thought, honestly, like if I told you Purdy plays well and the Niners lose, what happened in that game? Like, God, I mean, did Stafford throw for 400 yards? Did you notice that the game started? The Niners get out to a 14-0 lead, and McVay looked like a mature man. McVay was running the ball a lot early in the game, even with a deficit. It was very Shanahan of him. I remember watching the Rams a couple of weeks ago going, what are these guys doing? They're throwing the ball like 40 times. They're going to get Stafford killed. Well, they didn't do that today. You know, I thought it was a very mature game from McVay to be a 14-0 deficit and only throw the ball 25 times. Brock Purdy, who played most of the game with the lead, threw the ball more than Matthew Stafford did today. You know, if you told me coming into the game, Purdy's going to throw it more than Stafford, then I'd say, yeah, that does actually sound like a 49ers loss. But I've watched a lot of McVay games where he throws it too much. He did not do that today. I thought early they were going to hurt themselves with play calling, and they didn't. Thomas says, I love how y'all act like Purdy didn't fumble in Rams territory on 2nd and short. Yeah, I mean, shit, quarterbacks fumble. They throw picks. The guy was really good. Comment, not a negative show, a correct show. Purdy was good. I was concerned prior if he could pass the test. He did pass the test. Brock passed that test. 6 drops. Should the Niners run the ball more? Hell yes, but the receiver needs to hold on to the effing ball. They ran like 5.5 yards per carry on the first drive. And then for the rest of the first half, they were under 1 yard per carry. Then they came out in the second half. What happened? Chunk play. I mean, Jordan Mason was 4 yards a carry today. You know, even Isaac Orendo was 3.8, like better than I thought. No one's saying Purdy was perfect. No one's saying he didn't miss Ayuk on a wide open chance late in the game. But you know what he did do? He hit Ronnie Bell right in the freaking hands right after that. So, you know, this standard, like, it's crazy because when Brock's good, I say he's good, and people are like, no. Then when he's bad, I say he's bad, and people are like, no. So you can't win with this, which is fine. That's why I mean it's fun. Like I'm not but this standard of like, well, did you see he missed that throw and he fumbled? Yeah, did you see that other stuff he did? Who's playing a perfect game? Have you watched Mahomes? No one says Mahomes is great. No one's like Mahomes is great. You know why? Because he's perfect. That's not what happens. Good things happen, bad things happen. Things go right, things go wrong. You got to respond. He responded every time. Every time. Thomas with a super chat. It's crazy how it snowballed after that missed kick. Purdy has the it factor. Jennings is a dog. Greenlaw's coming back with CMC, Debo, Kittle. Let's LFG. No, it snowballed after the fake punt. That's when it started. And they still had a chance to win. Then the missed kick. I mean, that play. It's like I'm watching this game going, this stadium is 70% Niner fans. And yet, all of a sudden, credit to the Rams fans, I guess, that are there. It got so loud on the Rams side of things. Greenlaw's coming back. Yeah, McCaffrey's coming back. I guess. I'll believe that one when I see it. Debo's coming back. That I believe. Debo will be back in a couple weeks, and he'll be back to being Debo. McCaffrey being back, I'll believe that when I see it. Comment, our safeties are too slow. Yeah. Golly, man. Fake punt messed up the game. What if we had a kicker we could count on? Bell dropped 2 of them. No, Bell dropped 3 of them. Super chat. Shanahan plays like our defense is responsible for the team's success. Might as well have a head coach that will have faith in young players and actually pump energy into the team. Shanahan plays like our defense is responsible for the team's success. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. You're saying he relies on the defense too much? I mean, I agree with the second part. Like Cowing, the preseason's not everything, but they put Cowing on the field in the preseason, and he was an immediate impact player. He looked different than all the other guys on the field. Can we get past the fact that he missed a week and a half of camp and put him on the field? Again, not revisionist take. Said this last week. Comment from Brian. Hilarious how many people hate on Shanahan. I mean, it's not like there's different categories of people, I guess, right? There's the Shanahan should be fired people. Those are not real people. Those are not real opinions. That's not a real take. Right? He's a top 5 coach. He's taken them to 2 Super Bowls. But he's also not, nobody is, without blame, perfect, whatever. And to me, the thing that we can easily zero in on, be like, oh, I don't love his clock management. Oh, his teams don't play well from behind. Okay. I mean, the guy has had some pretty incredible success as a play caller, despite, I don't love all this play action game, whatever. Now, fair, but whatever. But 2 things I think we can fairly criticize is, what is the deal with Cowing? And you've got to commit to caring about special teams. Because you've changed the coaches. I don't know if you saw Nick Saban kind of went off on Florida football, Florida Gators. He's like, after Urban, was it after Urban or after Dan Mullen? You've had 4 coaches. No one's having any success. At some point, you got to stop blaming the coaches and look institutionally. You've changed special teams coaches, and you have the same problems on special teams. Golly, man. All things that would have still applied if they'd won the game, by the way, but would have been covered up a little bit. See, this, I think there's a lot of things to be fair here. Brent says Kyle plays not to lose in all close games. I didn't think that today. I thought he threw the ball in spots where old Kyle, maybe not old Kyle, not that he's gone through some evolution. But I thought he actually threw the ball in some spots where previously he might have run it, especially that first possession, not the first possession, the first play of the possession where Moody missed the field goal. Joseph, look, guys, I am sorry. I missed some super chats here for whatever reason. They did not get marked, and I can't get back to them. So if you sent me a super chat that I didn't get to, I'm sorry. Thank you. I appreciate the money. And the comments. So Joseph doubled up here. So thank you, Joseph. He said, you missed my super chat. Saleh gives more than Shanahan. Purdy is outgrowing what Kyle brings. Saleh gives more than Shanahan. Well, I don't I think clearly Kyle needs a very good defensive coordinator, as most offensive coaches do. I mean, Andy Reid is viewed as one of the great all-time coaches. Patrick Mahomes is one of the great all-time quarterbacks. They don't win the Super Bowl without their defensive coordinator last year. So there's no shame in that. But yeah, Kyle needs a Kyle on defense. That's kind of what it takes. And this is the second year in a row. It does not, early returns are not great. Purdy is outgrowing Kyle. I disagree with that. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Kyle schemes up some open throws, and Purdy hits a lot of them. Didn't hit Ayuk. Didn't see Ayuk today, but I think they work pretty well together. Comment, maybe you need Debo, McCaffrey, the big left tackle, just a theory. Sure. They didn't lose today because they didn't have Debo, they didn't have McCaffrey. If they had McCaffrey and Debo, would the 2 of them combine for what Juwan Jennings did? They had McCaffrey today. His name was Juwan Jennings. They had Debo today. How many games has Debo ever had that look like? I mean, I'm pro Debo more than a lot of people. But they had Debo today. His name was Juwan Jennings. They didn't have Ayuk. That's what they didn't have. By the way, even Saubert, what was his final line today? Eric Saubert, 2 for 41. I mean, You know, that's more than they used to get out of tight end too. Jennings had 11 for 175 and 3 touchdowns. The Jared Mason ran for 4 yards a carry. The problem wasn't they didn't have McCaffrey. Dan the Man says the big left tackle was kind of meh today. First time in a long time. I don't think it was great last week either. I think it's fair to question if he's in football, like legit football playing shape. These training camp doesn't exist just because coaches are control freaks and like to get a little extra practice in. Training camp exists to get ready for one of the most physically demanding, grueling jobs that you can have. Football player in the NFL. So a guy shows up a week and a half, not even, before the season. It's a problem, and it looks like a problem. It looks like a problem. The comment, the meat is going to bash Purdy. I don't, whatever. Whatever. I don't get all worked up about like media narratives. I think anyone who, if you watched it, you went, no, Brock Purdy was not the problem today. You know, he was not the problem today. The Yadam thing I was hopeful for. Can Bernardo Green play? Use a second rounder on a guy. Can you get an immediate impact? Dominic Pooney. Good immediate impact. Can they get immediate impact out of another one of their guys from this draft? Bernardo Green. Can they get immediate impact? Can Bernardo Green be ready to play soon? Thing is, Bernardo Green, what did he get the penalty for? Getting handsy. That was kind of the knock on him in college. But no reason for Purdy hate today. Purdy played great today. Everyone in the media is going to say he played like crap. No, I'm not going to get pre-mad about something that isn't going to happen. Somebody might say, whatever, who cares? Comment, super chat. You guys are generous today. Thank you. Purdy missed a wide open Ayuk down the seam in the final drive of the fourth quarter. That was the play where Purdy had 10 seconds to throw. I know. Yeah, I know. He also hit Ronnie Bell in the hands. So he made a lot more plays than he missed. I'm happy to keep yelling about it, but people are asking how much of the Ayuk contract is guaranteed. Yeah. All right. It is time. It is time for a prize pick segment. You go to PrizePicks, you use the code GUY. When you sign up with the code GUY, you make a lineup, $5 lineup. You put $5 in, you make a lineup, you immediately get $50 deposited right into your account. And I've been playing a ton of PrizePicks, been having a lot of fun with PrizePicks. I'm going to make a couple of lineups right now on PrizePicks and kind of show you how I do it. And let's have some fun. All right, I'm going to start with lineup number 1 is going to be Jaden Daniels. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels more than 195 passing yards on Monday against the Bengals. I'm going to go Joe Burrow less than 34 and a half attempts. All right. Jaden Daniels threw for 226 against the Giants, moved the ball well, led 3 drives to 64 yards or more. So I think they're going to move the ball. It probably ends up hitting in garbage time. Joe Burrow, less than 34 and a half passing attempts. Commanders have the 31st ranked defense in PFF. They're giving up 120 rushing yards per game. Game control, which is what the Bengals should do in this game, equals less attempts. Baker Mayfield beat Washington week 1 in a commanding victory with 30 attempts. So I don't see a big reason for Burrow to go over 34.5 or go more than 34.5 attempts. I'm going to, you only need 2 in a lineup, but I'm going to go a third part of this lineup. I'm going to go more than 13 and a half rushing attempts. Where did this one go? For Brian Robinson. Here we go. 13 and a half rushing attempts for Brian Robinson. Let me remove this other one. You know what? I'm going to leave that one in too. Why not? Let's have some fun. 20 is going to pay 190 on that lineup. All right. So it's, oops, I can't do that. So let me remove this one. 20 is going to pay 95 on that lineup. So that's how easy it is. Like boom, boom, boom. And, obviously that would have been a lot quicker if I wasn't walking you through it. So I'm going to make a second lineup. This is for the Jags game. I'm going to go Keon Coleman. Let's find Keon Coleman here. I'm going to go Keon Coleman more than 35 and a half receiving yards. Keon Coleman there's 2 Monday night games. So Bills, Jags are giving up basically like 250 passing yards a game this season. They're 30th in pass defense, Jacksonville. Keon Coleman had 4 for 51 in week 1. No receptions week 2. That game was out of hand. So they got to get him going. So I think they're going to target Keon Coleman a lot in this game. We're going to go James Cook. More than 63 and a half rushing yards. And you're seeing, if you're watching this, you see like, as I go through this, there's all kinds of like cool little other things you can mix in here. And then I'm going to go Brian Thomas Jr. 42 and a half receiving yards. Last week was actually crazy. It almost hit the last second because I had Jalen Hurts with a pick and who scored that late touchdown? Drake London with a late touchdown. All right, so this is going to be 20 to win 100 in this lineup. Bam, submit. Done. So that's how easy it is. You go to PrizePicks, use the code GUY, put in a $5 lineup. You'll instantly get $50 just for playing. For this month, if you're going to make one for next week, it's more or less than just half a passing yard for Caleb. So that's a layup. That's an easy one on Caleb Williams. It's all right there. It's easy. I've got some season-long ones that I love, and I think you'll really have fun playing too. So go to prizepicks.com or just go down in the description of the video or of the podcast. There's a direct link. You just click that link. That's my link for you. Then you use the code GUY, sign up with code GUY, and I think you'll enjoy it. I've got the Jack Fox, whatever the Lions punter name is. He had a pass completion week 1. I had him at more than half a completion for the year, combined with Brock Purdy putting a bunch of yards. So I need Brock to keep doing his thing when it comes to throwing. But anyway, there you go. PrizePicks, code GUY. Appreciate y'all. Comment: Cooper Kupp did have a better game than Ronnie Bell. Cut Bell and Campbell. You can't. I mean, Devondre Campbell. You need him. I think this is an overarching feeling. This comment here from Adrian coming out of Sunday. Bosa, Williams, Ayuk. Lots of money spent for very little production. That's fair right now. Bosa creates plays. There's no doubt. But it doesn't quite feel like it's like you got to look at the advanced metrics. Everyone's always arguing with Bosa. It's like, oh, you look at the metrics. Look at PFF. Wins are so hard to come by. And when you play a team like the Rams who are reeling and spot you a 14-0 lead and you lose, that is a gut punch. They are so lucky that they're playing the Patriots this week. They are so lucky that they're playing the Patriots this week. But they need more. They need more from the stars they got, because Purdy and J.P. Mason and Juwan Jennings and Fred Warner can't do it themselves. And they need more from their defense, and they need more from their head coach, who's a good head coach and who's not on the hot seat. But they need more from him. All right. By the way, good response, but I'm not surprised to see Purdy respond well after that Vikings game. All right. Thanks to everybody for the super chats. Thanks to everybody for watching, for listening. Appreciate y'all. Plenty more to talk about. We'll be doing it here all week. Before what is a must-win game this Sunday against the Pats.